texting me about their excitement over Alexandria because she represents the future of our party.
The future? Who is she? Born to a working-class Puerto Rican family in the Bronx, she moved with her family when she was 5 years old, an hour north to Westchester County, one of the wealthiest counties in America. She graduated from Yorktown High School in 2007 and then attended Boston University. She graduated majoring in economics and international relations in 2011. After college, she moved back to the Bronx where she worked 2 jobs as a bartender in Manhattan and also as a waitress. Alexandria once quipped that President Trump won't be able to handle a girl from the Bronx. However, that statement is misleading. Her girl from the Bronx statement has been questioned. She has been accused of changing her biography on her campaign website days after she was criticized for misleading voters about where she grew up. This 28-year-old declared socialist did beat 10-term House member Joe Crowley 57% to 42%, who was slated to replace Nancy Pelosi once San Fran Nan stepped down. However, only about 13% of the 215,000 registered Democrats turned out to vote in the 14th Congressional District that is made up from part of Queens and the Bronx. The Associated Press showed that Ocasio-Cortez had less than 16,000 votes to Crowley's less than 12,000 votes, which means she won by just 4,000 votes. More than 80% of eligible voters stayed home and didn't bother to vote that day. Her victory in the primary breaks down like this. She won in a heavily Democratic district as a socialist in the mold of Senator Bernie Sanders, whose 2016 presidential campaign she had once worked for. She'll now face Queens resident and GOP nominee Anthony Pappas, 72, a St. John's University professor, in this general election in November, which is considered a long shot since Democrats outnumber Republicans 6-1. There are 214,000 active Democrat voters and only 33,000 active Republican voters within the 14th district.
It was a giant win for the progressive wing of the party. But as my colleague Steve Kornacki put it, as shocking as her victory was, the more you look at the changing face of the Democratic Party, the more you wonder, why didn't all of us see this coming? Well, we talk about some of your policy positions, but generally, which is, first explain this to me. You were endorsed by a group, the Democratic Socialists, and you have embraced this label. And I think the New York Times has a headline this morning, the sort of millennials have embraced socialism. What is your definition of democratic socialist?
And to me, to answer your question, the definition of democratic socialism to me, again, is the fact that in a modern, moral, and wealthy society, no American should be too poor to live. And to me, that means every working class American in this country should have access to dignified health care, should actually be able to see a doctor without going broke. It means you should be able to send your kids to college and trade school if they so choose. And no person should feel precarious or unstable in their access to housing as our economy develops.
Some Democrats are afraid of the S word. They feel like that social, it has older Americans hear socialism and they tie it to sort of ugly governments from Europe and the past. Let me first start with something that Nancy Pelosi said about your victory earlier this week. Take a listen.
Nancy Pelosi? We remember her. Let's take a look at what she has said in the past.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
The unemployment insurance extension is not only good for individuals, it has a macroeconomic impact. As the macroeconomic advisors have stated, it will make a difference of 600,000 jobs to our economy.
What does it do to create jobs? What does it do to reduce the deficit? Unemployment insurance, the economists tell us, return $2 for every dollar that is put out there for unemployment insurance.
Jobs, 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 jobs. You say, how are you going to create them? We're going to create them in the public sector through the small businesses, the major job creator in our country.
They made a choice in one district. So let's not get yourself carried away as an expert on demographics and the rest of that, within the caucus or outside the caucus. It is not to be viewed as something that stands for everything else.
I don't know, Nancy. I think you Democrats should be a little worried. Progressives are clearly pushing for socialism in America. Look how Alexandria took out a 10-term congressman.
A socialist, the future of their party. So what does this say about the state of the Democratic Party? And could this be good news for Republicans as we approach the midterms?
Here to react, Fox News contributor Tommy Laird. Good to see you. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th, guys. Great to be here.
All right, future of the party. Abolish ICE, free college, and free health care. Is that the future of the Democratic Party?
Boy, I gotta tell you, as an American, it terrifies me that self-professed socialists are winning primary elections and that we've got the DNC chair cheering that on. As an American, that does terrify me because I know what it means to be a socialist nation, and that's not what we should ever become. But as a Republican, as a Trump supporter, I'm happy that the Democrats are finally being transparent. They want open borders. They want to abolish ICE. They want to abolish the rule of law. This is what the Democrats want for this country. So as a Trump supporter and a conservative, I think it's going to make the midterms easier for us because I think the American people are smarter than that.
Tommy, you hit on a key word, transparency, because this isn't the first time. I mean, if it were not for a rigged system, Bernie Sanders, who is an avowed socialist, would have been their nominee. So aren't they already here?
You'd think so, but I think it's getting progressively worse. And also, I'd like to remind the young people, because there's been poll after poll that has stated that young people are becoming more comfortable with socialism. And they're becoming more comfortable with socialism because they don't know what socialism is. They hear people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders talk about socialism and how it's about equality and free things. But that quickly descends into a black market for toilet paper, as seen in Venezuela. So I would encourage all young people who believe that they are socialists or democratic socialists to take a lesson and find out what it actually is before they're rooting for it.
Someone's going to have to pay for it.